Yeah, I've had a health food store for 10 years, and over the last 5, there's been a 50% increase in field workers coming in, not only field workers, but the general population of Imperial and Yuma County, Bard Valley. Estrogen dominance, which is one of the major side effects of these chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, and petrochemicals, other ones, causes low thyroid function, slowed metabolic rate, and causes pituitary cancers, leukemias, and in the whole decline of the endocrine system, there's a shift in the way sugars are used. So diabetes is very much a part and a side effect of this estrogen dominance brought on by the herbicides and pesticides. There's been a rapid incline in people with neurological symptoms, Parkinsonian type tremors, and neurological disorders of unknown origin. And that is what has particularly been so rapidly obvious in the field workers, is neurological disorders and vitiligo, where they're losing the pigmentation of their skin, and estrogen dominance issues, which is low thyroid function, adrenal gland dysfunction, which leads to all kinds of cases of anxiety disorders and depression and ADD, ADHD. And so anytime you're impacting the endocrine system in such a way, it's the captain of the ship. And there's so many different illnesses that occur with this endocrine attack. And leukemia is rampant here in the...
And in children especially. But it would affect children more because they're smaller, less mass, and exposed to the same concentration. But like you were saying, the thyroid is actually the gland that the thyroid controls most of the other endocrine system, right, including the pancreas. I truly believe that most of the people with diabetes in this area actually had thyroid disease, and they were diagnosed with diabetes because they didn't find out soon enough. They didn't go to the doctor until it had gotten, the hypothyroidism had been chronic to the point where all the other glands weren't working also, including the pancreas.
Right, with this neurological disorder and Parkinsonian type of tremors, in our note comparison, it goes back to Phil discovering paralyzed coyotes and neurologically affected animals.
Well, right before, I've got no pictures at all, right before all the animals, larger animals seemed to disappear, I did get some very disturbing pictures of horribly sick coyotes, and I hope we can get those pictures included in this program, because that really tells the story right there. Some perfectly healthy animals 1 week, and then the next week they look like they have leprosy.
If any of you saw...
And then a few days later, there's just no more animals.
If any of you saw the 60 Minutes special on Carbofuran used to kill the lions in Kenya, the symptoms were almost identical. And as a matter of fact, we then went and investigated, and sure enough, Carbofuran is used in this area. As a matter of fact, there are about 25 highly reactive, highly toxic pesticides used in this area. And usually, those field workers are not wearing masks and not wearing gloves. There was a picture of it in the paper recently, and it almost made me laugh. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, because they had masks and gloves on for a change, and I drive by them every day, and I don't see them wearing masks or gloves.
Yeah.
And if they're using paraquat, we have just under 2,000 acres in this area that use paraquat. And if they use paraquat, which is an organophosphate, then, which is a cholinesterase inhibitor, meaning it's neurotoxic.
That's an herbicide? Paraquat?
Yeah, it's a pesticide.
Oh, okay.
Right. And if they, the paraquat is used in about 2,000 acres around here, and they're supposed to post a sign that says danger or peligro on it. And I haven't seen that either until we started investigating and asking questions. And then I noticed also in the students around here that were becoming chronically ill. They didn't know why. They were always tired. They did have attention deficit problems. They were getting respiratory diseases more frequently, vision problems more frequently. And I just started asking around, and it became very apparent to me that they were not aware of what they were being exposed to. They have not been told what they're exposed to, or how to prevent it, or how to treat it. The owls in Rodney Zarate's yard that had been there, he's a local Native American that lives here on the res, and he said those owls had been around his home for years, and they suddenly disappeared at the same time.
Yeah, a great horned owl will live 50 years, and they don't move, they don't migrate. And there were dozens. There was an owl on every other telephone pole along the river, and I couldn't find one to save my life in the last few months. There may be some moving back in from further out in the desert or other areas that aren't affected around here, but this is a real concern too, because if these farmers or whoever is still continuing these practices that are poisoning these animals, then this is turned into a death trap. Any new animals coming in could also be poisoned and disappear.
Yeah.
And there was a population of eagles, that there was an actual eagle project.
There were golden eagles and bald eagles.
And bald eagles.
Nobody's seen them.
No, didn't see them.
At least.
No, it's been a year since I've seen them.
At the same time that this neurological, these neurotoxins seem to be in widespread use, I had a bird in particular, fall directly out of the tree. And it was obviously startled and paralyzed and but alert. And then 2 seconds later, its eyes wide open, it was dead, as if its diaphragm was completely paralyzed. And at that time, I witnessed a lot of dumping of toxic containers, intentionally valves being left open as they were driving up the freeway.
I've seen that going on for years.
Common sort of dumping going on. And ironically enough, right when the investigation for the disappearance of the animals, the investigation presented to you, to Imperial County authorities, and this, and all these neurotoxic symptoms that I was seeing at the store, and ironically enough, you found an article a month ago, right, in a paper that is for the EPA outlaws carbofuran on food crops.
Right. They've finally, carbofuran, which is highly toxic to the nervous system, it's a cholinesterase inhibitor, has been outlawed in Europe and Malaysia for years. They tried to outlaw it here, but the agribusiness industry was too powerful, and they outlawed only the pellet form. They were allowed to use it in liquid form on the crops. And there has been such an outcry since then, and I think people are becoming aware that just recently EPA has now banned carbofuran completely